Welcome to learning how to sculpt. Today I'm going to show you about sculpture, how to make sculpture more realistically. So for sculpture you need to choose a material. I've been a sculptor for many years, and people always ask me, how do you go about sculpting? And I always say the first thing I always say is to choose your material. So today I've brought along to the studio my choice of material. It's might not be the first thing that springs to mind, but it's a material I've used quite a lot in the past. And so today we're going to sculpt with potatoes. This is a big 5-kilogram bag of potatoes, and as I say, you always buy more than you need, so we won't necessarily use 5 kilograms of potatoes today, but there's always tomorrow. I've started off by getting my water heated up to boiling point, because I'm going to work not with potatoes as a raw material but as a processed material. So in that way I'm going to cook the potato to produce what we know, commonly known as mashed potato. Now mashed potato, you might think that's not a common material for sculpting, but in fact it probably is. More so than you probably realise. Anyway, it's something I've used for many years, and today I'll show you how I go about using it. So this is a bag of potatoes. Any old potatoes, multi-purpose potato. Just checking on my flame there, that seems to be working much better than it was before, just using an old camp cooker. Anyway, sort of experimental, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I've chosen potatoes with dirt on them. I don't know why that is. I think in some ways it's a bit healthier because, as we all know, the washed potatoes tend to go greener quicker. So, and the green part of the potato is very toxic. It's a very unusual thing about potatoes, that it's the tubers, the green parts, are actually quite toxic. And with the bag of potatoes, something I was thinking about, or something that brings to mind, is from my memories of the childhood of actually working as a potato digger. So when I was about 10 or 11, I got my first job. I was trying to save money to go on a school trip, at a job that I got I asked a farmer in a paddock next to where my parents were living, and asked them if I could do some work for some money, and the job was to pick potatoes, and basically you sat behind the digger and you picked up the potatoes and put them in bags. So partly what I'm thinking about here is, within this bag of potatoes, they're probably all quite related, because when you pick the potatoes, it's often the one plant with all the tubers growing underneath it. So they're all in some ways related. They're siblings of each other. And even broadly speaking, all potatoes are related to, historically, from their source, from one particular place in South America. I think it's the border of Peru and Bolivia, somewhere around there, small location, and all the potatoes that we know all come from that one particular place. So in fact these potatoes are possibly all related. They probably all know each other quite well, even they're all sort of cohabitating together in a plastic bag. But anyway, I thought this could be an opportunity to release these potatoes from their prison, plastic bag, and I'll release them. And there you go. Okay, you can leave. Now you're free. Maybe I'm not that interested in leaving anyway, so some of these potatoes. The interesting thing about the potato is that even as we speak, I think there is a potato growing on the moon. The Chinese, who we associate more commonly with rice as the staple, are now experimenting with the potato as a possible crop to grow in outer space. So it's not just the film Martian with Matt Damon where we see potato in space, but you know, they possibly are the future. They're fairly universal food in some ways, but anyway, here we go. Into space. Into space. Into space. So maybe we need a rocket for that. So I'm just going to pick out a few potatoes, and before I get started I might just wash these, because it'd be nice to have clean potatoes. Anyway, I'll just go away and wash them and come back and we'll talk some more, and I'll show what the next step is. Well, here I am back again with a nice bowl of washed potatoes. I haven't peeled them, as you notice. I think it's a bit more organic to leave the skins on. Whatever. I like to see the eyes of the potatoes, as you know, the eye of the potato is another living part of its way that it reproduces itself in some way. So you can cut up the potato in any way. As long as you keep an eye, you can plant it in the ground and another potato will grow. Doesn't really know all that stuff. Anyway, so the next step is to cut the potato into smaller pieces, because well, I've got a lot of time, and because the ultimate result is a mashed potato, not a whole potato. So I'm just going to cut these up into smaller pieces with this knife and on this board. And I'm going to put them into this boiling pot of water. Start to boil along nicely. We could salt the water as well if you liked, but at the moment, anyway, you could add some bay leaves or something like that if you wanted to eat some of the sculpting materials as well. So, you know, it's this good thing about using potato as a sculpting material, because in fact you can also eat it. It's just, you know, it's just one of the benefits of it. Anyway, just cutting them into smaller pieces. I can't remember very well. These look like good potatoes to mash. Anyway, you know, you have to forgive me because I'm basically ending the life of these related potatoes. They don't seem to be too interested in their own freedom, so I'm just moving along with it. You know, there's some new research out at the moment, a talk that I heard recently, where they say that plants actually communicate with each other, and I'm sure the potato as a plant is possibly high up on the spectrum of intelligence for a vegetable. You know, the fact that let's cut that little bit out there, because of its own history, really, in some ways. Because if you think about it, they all started life somehow in a small town in Bolivia, and now, as I pointed out, they're on the moon. So if that's not a great way to evolve your species, then I don't know what is, because they've actually left the Earth, they've populated the Earth, they've travelled from South America to Europe, and now even into China. As I said earlier, the Chinese, you associate with rice as their staple vegetable. Anyway, so now the potato is seen as you know, an important part of not just people's diets, but also as a sculpting material, or a material worthy of research. Anyway, I apologise to you potatoes, but hopefully I don't, that you know, my focus on your species will actually some way help people to understand and think about them in different ways. Anyway, so that's another thing to talk about potatoes. So you might have thought that so my name Van Hout is actually a Dutch name, and one of the main food sources is for the Dutch is the potato, like it is in a lot of Europe. You know, the Polish, the Germans, the Russians. The Russians even make vodka from potatoes. So it has many uses, and it also has been a good staple food for countries in poverty or crises. Think about Vincent van Gogh, the Dutch artist, who sort of came from the same area that my family's from. So the sort of pre-industrial, the Netherlands, Holland, you know, I think people were mostly rural and also very poor, and if you can remember or if you know Vincent van Gogh's paintings, the Potato Eaters, he painted some of the poor people which he associated with potato eating. So so it's a very odd thing that he, I think, obviously was not a potato eater himself. He was middle class, I think, it's basically from his family. Just put the lid on that to help the cooking process. Might take some time, but Vincent van Gogh and his potato eaters, he painted these sort of abject people sitting around a table eating potatoes as if that was the only food they could eat, and or you know, sometimes I think if you travel around Europe, you think that is basically all people do have to eat. But I think in some ways the way he painted them as a kind of an observer, as if they're the sort of abject people that were not him, and you know, associating it with sort of conditions that I don't think he necessarily suffered himself. But anyway, so there's kind of an association with poverty in the potato, or famine and crises and stuff like that. So, you know, we often associate the potato with the Irish and the potato famine, which I think helped to create the Irish diaspora, because people obviously didn't have anything to eat, even the humble potato. And in Dutch, the potato is known as the aardappel, which translates as earth apple. And I think from well, anecdotally talking to other people, that that translation, or the translation of earth apple, potato into earth apple, is actually quite a common one in Northern Europe. And so it's, you know, I don't know if that has a biblical significance or anything like that, but certainly the potato is fairly universal material today. So, which is why you know, I wanted to focus on it as an artwork, or as material for making art. So anyway, I might come back to this. We'll just leave these potatoes to boil, and I'll come back to that. Okay, let's just see how it's going. Really boiling. Look at all those potatoes in there. You can hear them screaming. They'll get there. Yeah, it's starting to boil a bit more. Okay, and just put the lid back on. bit longer to go. Okay, let's check, time to check them out again. Let's look, it's been boiling quite well here. Just going to grab a fork and just see how they're going. I've been cooking for a while now, but it's looking good. Put my fork into them. Looks like they're soft all the way through. So pretty good. I think they're ready to mash. Okay, now I think the next step is that I'm going to drain the water off them, put them back on the heat, just get all rid of the moisture. Then I'll add some milk and some butter, and then I'll begin the mashing. Okay, I'll just pop back shortly. Okay, I'm back. Put this back on the stove for a little bit longer. Just get rid of a bit of that moisture, get this stirred around. It's ready for mashing. I think my cream is coming out. Just a camp stove there. It's probably not the best, but it's kind of what I've got at the studio, so I'm using it. Yeah, I'm just going to let that little bit of the moisture cook off, and then come back and we'll be ready to mash. Aha! Here we go. Okay, I think it's time to turn this thing off. Good job today. Okay. But this, I think I've had this camping stove for about 3 years now. Still working pretty good. Anyway, so there we have some potatoes ready to be mashed and turned into an art material. Anyway, these are, there are many varieties of potato. Approximately 5,000. I think that includes sweet potatoes as well, which are not related. They're a different sort of potato, but apparently they are the original one. And the ones that I chose were just the ones that were at the shop. They were called red gum. They're a multi-purpose potato, so I guess they're good for mashing. And they're probably not the best, but they're probably an all-rounder. And as they say, the red gum is not a variety, or it's a particular variety, just grown by a local grower who apparently, if my research is correct, these potatoes have been X-rayed because they apparently were awarded a grant to enable them to X-ray their potatoes. That's good, isn't it? Anyway, so before we start we've got some tools here. This is what you call a potato masher. And as I said, I'm going to add milk. You don't really have to add milk, but I think since that's the traditional thing to use, I'm going to add some milk. You could use cream, I guess, and probably a bit more salt. Okay, just put a bit. You don't have to use cow's milk. I usually wouldn't use cow's milk, but that's what I had, and I don't usually eat dairy. And a bit of this fake butter, Nutalex, pretty disgusting. Probably made from potatoes as well. Anyway, so we just put a big blob of that in there. That's just going to give it a good creamy texture. the important thing is to match these things really well. Or maybe not necessarily really well, but just to a kind of consistency that you like, or one that you feel like you can sculpt this. So I'm just going to mash away here. The skins give it a bit of a roughness, a little bit kind of an earthiness, which you don't have to go for. You could peel the potatoes and mash it well. Here's some mashed potato. I'm going to mash them up well. Stir. So you've got a wooden spoon, a knife, a cooker. Light the cooker, a bit of oil or something, like I'll use some nuttlex here, and some liquid, which I've used milk, just to form a good mixture. You don't want it too soft because then your material won't hold together very well in the sculpting stage. So I'm just going to mash it up. See, it's looking pretty good to me. Taste, see what it's like. That's good. It's good for eating as well as sculpting. Very good. Right? That's as good as it gets. Probably as good as it needs to be, actually, in some ways. I suppose the smoother the mix, the smoother the sculpted will be. So I'm not going to use this to do my sculpting with. I'm just going to use this, put the potato mash into this bowl and do the to do the sculpting with, actually. So this is going to be my sculpting equipment. Actually, I might even use, and I'll use a turntable as well, just so I can move around it. Anyway, so I'm just going to get the potato and put it into this bowl here, and then just going to let that cool down a bit. The way to maybe let it cool down is to put it in a refrigerator. It'll be a bit quicker, so I might do that. And then look at that, that is a good amount. I'm going to let that cool down a bit before I start work on it, and hopefully we can get to the sculpting phase of this operation, of this program, which is what we've all been looking for. Look at that. It's a sculpture in itself. Just put it aside, do the dishes later on. Okay, I'm just going to take that up to the refrigerator, let it cool down a bit. We'll come back to it. So here we are. A cooler bowl of mashed potato. Now the fun begins, the exciting part. Okay, it's not exactly really cold, but I think it's cool enough for our purposes. Anyway, this is the fun begins. So, got my sculpting tools here. These are just traditional clay carving tools, variety of different ones, some in a pack, a knife, blades as well. Anyway, we're just going to play around and to see what sort of forms we can achieve with this mesh. It should be good. We'll just build it up into a mound there. You don't be afraid to use your fingers as well. Saves a bit of time. Okay, what we're going to choose, try to make a kind of a form, maybe a figurative form here. Just build it up. I'm just going to build up some shapes here. So at the bottom there. I'm just going to build it up here, just like that, up here like that. Just on top there. I like to make it sort of like a snowman shape. I mean, it's not going to be the the perfect sculpting material, but I think, you know, in terms of economy and you know, something that's actually, you know, freely available and, you know, fairly, as I say, inexpensive to use. It's, you know, not traditional, but there's no reason why you can't use a potato. Okay, look at this, starting to look good now. Just going to make a little mound here, and then I can start carving into it. Okay, just need to hold it that loud anyway. So here we go. Smooth it on the front there. You can probably see this better than I can. You can always just smooth it around a lot. You could use a turntable or something like that, but you know, just in terms of this trial, I think it's probably a bit simpler to just use my hands. A little bit messy. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Start moving. It sort of starts. What can we make here? Let's try to make a face. Okay, let's up here. Bring it up the top. It needs more at the top. It's quite good stuff. It's very sticky. There we go. I'm not going to use an armature or anything like this. Sometimes we go form the back of the head. So we can do some ear shapes there. Here. Sounds look like something. Okay, just holes. Hang on. Yeah, it's probably not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but something anyway. Not really. Nothing like much. Look at that. Let me just make a landscape. Okay, let's make like a. I don't know. This will be probably the easiest thing you can shape there. I don't know. What's another thing? Just try to make a leg. Okay, just bring it up, bring it up. Hand. Make a few hands at a time now. How do you make fingers? Okay, maybe I'll get the tool here. Start with a big blob there as well. Front. Okay. Oh, daisy. Dropping everywhere. Okay, there is the. Make a thumb there. Come on, stick. It's very difficult because I guess in some ways it's because you know, as I started saying, potatoes are a living organism. They're within this. Before you cook it, each potato has the possibility to make another potato. You plant it in the ground, and another potato will grow. But this now, from being cooked and mashed, is a completely dead material. I guess I like many sculpting materials. It's not living, and to attempt to make something living out of that's a hand, thumb, maybe just like a fisty sort of hand thing there. Let's try to use this tool. Just smooth. Oh yes. I think maybe. Yeah, that's looking like something now. Okay. Let's have a look here. I don't know. Yes. Smooth it out. Smoothing it out. I mean, yeah. You could say this is looking like something. It's getting easier to work with. You could probably experiment with less stickier kind of, drier kind of mixtures as well. I mean, each mixture is going to have its own, hard, difficulties and eases as well. I kind of went for this smoother mashed potato, kind of classic sort of potato look. So to bring this all up here, up there, here we go. It does resist sculpting a bit, but then, that's always a challenge. It's always good to have a challenge. Hang on, it's sloping a bit over that way. Gravity, I guess when potatoes are in space, it might be a bit easier to do this kind of work in zero gravity environment or lower gravity environment. It seems to be, that's stay there though. I don't know. So, I don't know, what do you think? Is it something? Okay. Up there as well. Is it like a hand? You see that? Right here. That's like the thumb. More up there. Keep moving it up. Sculpt. It's a lot of fun. It's good to get your hands dirty. It's a whole part of the process, really. And you could probably make a mould and maybe cast potato as well. Maybe then you could bake it or some ways. That could be another way of doing things, but I thought I'd try the hand sculpting technique here. Now, maybe it's best to just try making something abstract. It all takes time. But look. Just try to make it's very hard to make. Oh no, it's looking better. Now, how much you can. I'm trying to do is a turn it around here. Give it a bit of smooth up there. It's wanting to tip up. Oh, this one. Oh, no, it didn't. Let's start again. Could do. Maybe just make a hole. Yeah. That's quite good. It's like a kind of donut. Some ways. I mean, it's kind of interesting stuff. I don't know if you've seen the film A Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's kind of, in some ways, it's what inspired me. It's a story of a guy that's had a close encounter, and after the encounter, he starts making a shape with his mashed potatoes, and it occurred to me that the aliens, whatever, were communicating with him and telling him to make sculpture. So, and this is the kind of the thing he was making, like this. So, I mean, it is a fictional film, and there are no actual accounts of aliens turning people into artists. But look, and something like this, and then he carved these big gouges like that. And that's looking good. That's looking good. And I'm getting the hang of it. actually think it makes it a bit better. Smooth these things out, let's smooth them out. This is the fluting of the Devil's Tower, I think it's called. Wyoming somewhere, something like that. Anyway, so I'm doing it, maybe this is a, clean it up, just clean it up, smooth the top off, clean up the edge of it. And that kind of is something. So it shows the possibilities. You can actually, make something reasonable. It has its limitations, but all materials have their limitations. And mashed potato has its own, but it also has some good qualities to it as well. And anyway, so that's one that I made. But I guess it's a copy. It's not really original, is it? It's something that's in a movie. You think. Ooh, that goes down pretty quick, doesn't it? What else could you make? I wonder, casting things. Just get ready, okay? Let's just pat that down a bit there. What else can we make? Should probably use an armature of some description, that's a bit fancy anyway. Maybe you just, use it for what it is. You can make some shapes out of it, cut stuff in it, just make some flat shapes, cookies, or, I don't know, maybe you could, just put your face in it like this. That worked. And I think that concludes my demonstration. Anyway, what do you think of that? Not bad. I think potato mash makes for a good sculpting material. What about you? What do you think? Thanks for watching.